I'd spent years believing that the strongest love stories began with grand confessions, dramatic kisses, or perfect timing. I was wrong. Sometimes, the greatest love begins with two people carrying each other's pain, expecting nothing in return. Mine started with a single phone call on a rainy Thursday afternoon. "Please," Emma whispered, her voice trembling. "I need a favor." I stopped what I was doing immediately. Emma had been my best friend for nearly 10 years. She was the kind of person who remembered birthdays without reminders, brought soup when someone was sick, and secretly paid for strangers' groceries if they looked like they were struggling. Hearing fear in her voice felt completely out of place. "What happened?" "My cousin is getting married this weekend," she said. "My ex is going to be there." I stayed quiet. I told everyone I was seeing someone. "And I kind of told them it was you." I couldn't help laughing. "You laughed," she sighed dramatically. "I knew you'd laugh." "I'm sorry. I just wasn't expecting that." "So, will you pretend to be my boyfriend for one weekend?" I knew about her ex, Ryan. Their relationship had ended almost a year earlier, but not because they stopped loving each other. It ended because Ryan never stopped choosing himself over everyone else. He lied. He disappeared for days. He made promises he never intended to keep. Worst of all, he somehow convinced Emma that every broken promise was her fault. When she finally left him, she spent months rebuilding the confidence he had slowly stolen. "If he sees me alone," she admitted quietly, "he'll think I never moved on." "You don't owe him proof." "I know. But I want to prove it to myself." That answer changed everything. "I'll do it." She let out the loudest sigh of relief I'd ever heard. "You just saved my life." "No," I joked. "My weekend." 2 days later, we drove 3 hours to a beautiful lakeside resort where the wedding would take place. Emma looked stunning in a simple blue dress that matched the water behind the ceremony. Yet beneath her smile, I could see nervousness hiding in every movement. "You okay?" I asked. She nodded too quickly. "I'm fine. You've been saying that since we left town." "I'm practicing." "For what?" "For pretending." I gently took her hand. "You don't have to pretend with me." For a moment, she looked at me with grateful eyes before squeezing my hand back. The first hour went surprisingly well. Her family welcomed me warmly. Her grandmother hugged me before even learning my name. Her little nephew asked if I knew how to throw footballs. Everything felt almost natural. Then Ryan arrived. Even from across the garden, I recognized him from old pictures. Perfect haircut. Expensive watch. Confident smile. The kind of confidence that often hides insecurity underneath. His eyes found Emma almost immediately. Then they landed on me. I felt her fingers tighten around mine. "He's coming." Ryan walked over with the same smile that probably once made Emma fall in love. "Emma." "Ryan." His eyes shifted toward me. "And you must be." "Daniel," I answered, offering my hand. He shook it firmly. "So you're the new boyfriend?" Emma smiled politely. "I am." Ryan chuckled. "Didn't expect you to move on this fast." Before Emma could respond, I spoke calmly. "I guess healing looks different for everyone." Ryan looked surprised. "So you've heard stories?" "I've heard enough to know she's one of the strongest people I've ever met." Emma looked at me for half a second. Not because I'd impressed Ryan. Because I'd reminded her of something she'd forgotten about herself. Ryan shrugged. "Well, enjoy the wedding." As he walked away, Emma whispered, "Thank you." The wedding itself was beautiful. People laughed. Children danced barefoot on the grass. The bride cried before reaching the altar. The groom cried even harder. Watching everyone celebrate love made something feel different inside me. I'd always thought of Emma as family. My closest friend. The person I trusted more than anyone. Yet every time she smiled, I found myself smiling too. Every time she laughed, the room somehow felt brighter. That realization scared me. Because fake relationships are easy. Real feelings aren't. During dinner, Ryan appeared again. This time, he wasn't alone. He introduced us to his new girlfriend. She looked sweet. Far too sweet. She had no idea how many promises Ryan had broken before making new ones to her. As they walked away, Emma surprised me. I feel bad for her. You don't hate him? I used to. And now? I just hope he changes. I stared at her. Most people carry anger after heartbreak. Emma carried compassion. That was who she'd always been. Even when someone hurt her deeply, she still wished them healing. I suddenly understood why losing her had been Ryan's greatest mistake. Later that evening, everyone gathered around a bonfire beside the lake. People shared stories. Laughed. Roasted marshmallows. An older man sat beside us. You two remind me of my wife and me. Emma smiled. Really? We were best friends for 7 years before we ever dated. What changed? He smiled toward the stars. One day I realized I wasn't looking for the perfect woman anymore. He reached toward the empty chair beside him. I was already sitting next to her. His words stayed with me. Hours later, Emma and I walked quietly along the shoreline. Neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't awkward. It was peaceful. Finally she said, "Can I tell you something?" Always. I almost cancelled. Why? I thought seeing Ryan would break me. Did it? She looked across the water. No. Why not? Because every time I started feeling afraid. She smiled softly. You reminded me who I am. I swallowed hard. You never needed me to be strong. I know. You've always been enough. She stopped walking. So why does it feel like I needed you? I looked into her eyes. For the first time that weekend, pretending completely disappeared. I don't know. But deep down, I did know. The next morning, the wedding guests gathered for brunch before heading home. As we packed our bags, Ryan approached one final time. His confidence was gone. He looked almost tired. I owe you an apology, Emma. She looked surprised. I wasn't a good man. No, she answered honestly. I thought you'd come back someday. She shook her head gently. I already did. He looked confused. What? I came back to myself. There wasn't a single angry word. No revenge. No insults. Just truth. Ryan nodded slowly. I hope you're happy. Emma smiled. I am. Then he looked at me. Take care of her. I answered without hesitation. I always will. The drive home felt lighter. The weight she'd carried for nearly a year had finally disappeared. About halfway home, we stopped at a small roadside diner. Nothing fancy. Just burgers, pie, and endless coffee. Emma laughed more during that lunch than she had in months. You know, she said. What? We're actually pretty convincing. As fake boyfriend and girlfriend? She smiled. Yeah. Silence settled between us. Not uncomfortable. Just thoughtful. Finally she spoke. Can I ask one more favor? I laughed. Another one? This one's different. Okay. She took a deep breath. What if we stopped pretending? For several seconds, I honestly wondered if I'd imagined hearing those words. What do you mean? I mean. She looked nervous for the first time all weekend. What if we actually tried? You mean? A real date? I couldn't stop smiling. I've wanted that since yesterday. She blinked. Yesterday? Actually. I laughed. Probably longer. She covered her face with both hands. We're unbelievable. We really are. We spent years helping each other find the right person. When we were sitting across from each other the whole time. That afternoon, our first real date looked almost identical to our fake one. Same diner. Same coffee. Same laughter. The only difference was that this time neither of us had to pretend. Months passed. Then a year. Life wasn't perfect. Real relationships never are. We argued over little things. Forgot anniversaries. Burned dinners. Made mistakes. But we always chose kindness before pride. Listening before winning. Forgiveness before keeping score. Emma once told me that love isn't finding someone who never lets you fall. It's finding someone who quietly reaches for your hand every single time you do. 2 years later, I stood beside another lake. Only this time, I wasn't attending someone else's wedding. I was creating my own. As Emma walked toward me in her wedding dress, I remembered the frightened woman who had called asking for a favor. She thought she needed someone to pretend to love her so she could face her past. Instead, she found someone who had quietly loved her through years of friendship without even realizing it himself. During our vows, I didn't promise perfection. I promised presence. I'll stand beside you on ordinary days, I told her. Because ordinary moments become extraordinary when they're shared with someone who always chooses kindness. Emma smiled through tears. Then she answered with words I'll never forget. Thank you for saying yes to a favor that changed both our lives. Sometimes people believe miracles arrive with fireworks. Ours arrived with a simple request. Will you pretend to be my boyfriend? It turned out that the greatest relationships aren't built on pretending to be someone else. They're built on finally having the courage to be exactly who you've always been. And sometimes, the person who helps you heal from your past becomes the person you build your future with, not because they rescued you, but because they reminded you that you were worthy of love all along.